In this review, I will be focusing on a TV show that comes on TNT by the name of Animal Kingdom. And to me, this show is pretty good in my opinion. Seasons 1 and 2 are extremely well done. Seasons 3 and 4 are pretty good. And no more talking, let's get straight into this review. So in the very first episode of the series, the main protagonist of the series, Jay, his mother dies of a drug overdose, and he decides to call his estranged grandmother, who goes by the name of Smurf. Smurf comes and picks him up, and she takes him to her house. And in her house, it is consisted of his uncles, Craig, Darren, and a close family member, Baz. Pope is nowhere to be seen as of yet. And when I first watched the season, the very first episode, I was interested to see what their family was about, because I used to see promos of this on TNT, but I would never watch it because I was focused on another TV show by the name of Claws, which I may or may not do a review on later on. So anyways, Jay arrives at his grandmother's house and meets his uncles after a long time. And at Smurf's house, it's wild. We see that there's always parties going on, and that the uncles are not so welcoming to Jay's sudden arrival, especially Pope, who comes back after almost 7 years away in prison for a job that went horribly wrong. And when I first saw Pope, I just thought that Pope was just creepy as ever, because he will always be just watching over Jay just because, and Smurf as well. Like, if you've seen Animal Kingdom, then you know that that family is weird. Not everyone, but the Codys is a weird family. Like the Strange Things About the Johnsons type of weird. And that is not good, because that is what I got out of it. In the first season, we see that the Codys are well-known criminals that has committed many various jobs to make money. And then we see in season 1, the Codys try to do a job, I think in the first episode, of robbing a jewelry store with watches worth valuable money. But the plan backfires as the cop notices the Codys escaping, and because of his attempt to stop the Codys, he ends up dying, and the watches become way too hot to sell. And so we see that the Codys continue to do various jobs throughout the first season, and they keep making more trouble than more good out of it. And then in season 1, we see that Smurf has a secret hidden vault located inside a storage warehouse containing a stolen merchandise, like $5 to $10 million in cash, and just a lot more in jewelry that she never told the boys. And then we see with Baz, he has a daughter by the name of Lena with his girlfriend or wife, Catherine. We see Catherine and Smurf start to have issues, and it gets so bad to the point that Catherine is about to turn witness against Smurf. Pope and Catherine slept together, and Pope could have possibly been Lena's father, but there is no truth to that. And then how Catherine gets killed in season 1 was freaking wild to me. She and Pope have intercourse, and then Pope smothers her with a pillow while I think he's still giving it to her. Like, I was just saying, what the F, when I first saw that. And then he puts her in the car. I thought that he was about to kill Lena as well, the daughter, but thankfully he didn't do that. And he just buried her body somewhere deep in California. Jay, on the other hand, is at school with his girlfriend. He has a girlfriend by the name of Nikki, and she starts visiting the Smurfs more often with him. But then it starts to get a little bit too serious, as Jay has a teacher that actually cares for him and all, but it turns out that Jay actually likes the teacher as well. And long story short, it discovers that the teacher is trying to find intel on the Codys so that her charges of drug possession will be dropped. And Jay and the teacher, they sleep together, but then Jay realizes what's been going on. And long story short, he switches back on the teacher, saying that you assaulted me and no, I'm not going to help you. And so by the end of season 1, we see the teacher, she goes to prison, never to be seen again. And Jay's girlfriend, Nikki, starts dating Craig, which was, in my opinion, some really foul stuff. And Craig, on the other hand, he's just a bad person altogether, because in this season, we see him with a friend by the name of Ren who sells her merchandise. Ren almost overdoses, and then out of nowhere, Craig decides to rob her while she's dying, or so we thought. But Ren gets her get back as she sets him up to be robbed, drugged, a whole bunch of other things, etc. And Pope, he's just crazy all around. He's still trying to get back, and as Baz becomes the villain and Cody somehow becomes a good guy. And that was really surprising to me, because I did not expect Baz to become a villain. But after so much that has happened between him and Smurf, he probably couldn't just take it no more. And it is somehow pointed out, though not confirmed, that Baz could possibly be Jay's father. But just like Baz said himself, what would it matter? Because Jay is already like 18 years old, and he's a horrible father to Lena, his own daughter. So if Baz was Jay's father, could be, but it's never confirmed. Darren, on the other hand, is trying to start a new business, a bar business, and it has some problems. Like, Darren might be probably the other sane one in hand besides Jay, because they do a lot of crazy things. Like in this season, in season 2, the boys, the Codys, decide to rob a church of all places. Like, yeah, robbing a church, okay. So anyways, in season 2, Smurf gets arrested for many crimes, and it seems that she is not going to get out by the end of this season. Cody, on the other hand, tries to set up Smurf by stealing her gun and then shooting someone in the head that was already dead, that Smurf had already gotten previously killed. And so by this season, we see that Baz is trying to take shots as the Don, but it doesn't go nowhere, with his new girlfriend Lucy being on his side as well, and also acting shady towards the Codys. In season 2 finale, we see that Baz almost gets put on a t-shirt by an unknown assassin, and Lucy sets him up as she robs him of what he stole from Smurf's storage. In season 3, we see that Baz actually does die and becomes a ghost, and Lucy is long gone with Smurf's possession, and Smurf is still locked up and will be locked up for a minute. So then everyone is trying to figure out what to do now, ever since Baz has been killed and Smurf is locked up. The whole family goes their separate ways, with Craig, and I don't know why she came back, Ren being together, Jay's still doing his own thing, Pope is still doing his own thing while trying to take care of Lena, Craig and all that type of stuff. Everybody else, they're all doing their own things. And it's discovered that Jay meets a new girl by the name of Mia, while Nikki is still living with Codys. And as time goes on, we see that Jay and Nikki become a couple. And as Nikki, she finally disappears after this season when she accidentally shoots herself after getting high on drugs or getting drunk or whatever. And it becomes apparent that Smurf puts Jay in charge of all of her possessions and properties, making the Codys unhappy, but Jay gets his job done. And I think in this season, we see that Jay becomes a cold-blooded person because after Smurf is released from jail somehow, she revokes Jay's rights as the holder of all of her possessions. And it's discovered that the lawyer for the Codys was stealing money from them, as well as, I think, properties as well. And then Jay decides to teach her a lesson by kidnapping her while she is swimming, cuts her leg, pushes her in the water, and then lets the fishes eat her up. Her body is discovered in Shoreline, all purple, eyes missing, toenails, fingernails all missing, just all bad. And then it's seen that Lena is having some issues at school because of losing her mother and father, that she almost becomes one of the Codys as well by the way she acts. And Lucy, she returns following Baz's death, and she tries to help the Codys, but it doesn't go nowhere, as Smurf knows, as well as everyone else, that she is the one that stole Smurf's possessions. And she gets her get back by the end of season 3 by being turned into a paper after getting her head blown off by one of Mia's goons. And Mia, she at first was a good character, but then she becomes garbage after her and her old boyfriend smashes at the house that Jay had bought for himself and Mia. And by the end of season 3, new characters are introduced from Smurf's past, and one of them tries to get together with one of the Codys. I forgot which one. I'm sorry. So in season 4, we start to see flashbacks of Smurf, of how she starts to rob folks and everything in her teen years. And to be honest, I really did not like that at all. But it was still interesting to see how Smurf became Smurf. And Pope gives up Lena for many reasons, because if she became one of the Codys, it would have just ended all bad. In this season, we start to see less of Smurf, as Smurf in real life gets cancer. Not the actress herself, but the character Smurf. She gets cancer in real life, but she decides not to tell all the Codys just because she wants to do one huge last job before she dies. And before she dies, she tells Jay that if the time ever came, she wanted Jay to be the one that puts her out of her misery. And then we start to see more flashbacks and everything. And the flashbacks start to get a little bit more serious. Meanwhile, on the other hand, Jay decides to cut out Mia out of his life and kicks her out of his house. And as a result, Mia breaks in with her ex to try to rob Jay, but it goes nowhere. And then the boys decide to do another job at a football stadium. Things go smooth until Mia and her ex decide to rob the fellas. Jay finds out that it was Mia and her ex and gets Mia's father to put the X on a shirt. And Jay decides to put Mia out of her misery after she confesses that she was the one that killed Baz and everything. And we see by this point on, Jay is starting to become a killer, as he has caught many bodies so far in seasons 3 and 4. And Smurf's job comes, and the boys decide to come along. And then the job does not go as smooth, and it gets to the point that Smurf is either about to kill Cody or herself, because she is screaming to kill her. And Jay finally puts Smurf out of her misery, and that is it of Smurf, leaving everyone speechless, and Jay just acting all smooth and all. And when that happened, I was really shocked to see, but I was not surprised because she did not want to die in the hospital. She wanted to go out on her own ways, and you can't really fault Smurf for that. So then, by the end of season 4, with Smurf dead and with the family still in the ruckus, Poe puts himself in charge of everything, even though it appears that Smurf had written everyone out of her memories, not memories, but you know what I mean, out of her papers, and she had given all of her possessions, all of everything to an old friend. And in season 5, I guess that plot is going to be the Codys are going to try to take it from this friend. And by the end of season 4, the Codys try to show why they're still the Codys and why they will still be the Codys without Smurf around. And that is pretty much it. I would say that, like I've said before, seasons 1 through 2 are perfect in my opinion. I would say season 2 is my favorite because it was like every episode stuff just got wilder and real that I could not wait to watch the next episode. And the new characters that have been introduced, they're cool and everything. Seasons 3 and 4 are still pretty good in my opinion. And season 5 is coming hopefully somewhere around this year, as I guess they're finished filming, but I don't know how true that is. But if you have not watched this show, I highly recommend that you do. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe and comment. Until next time, later.